Did you think I was moving out of Kenya? No way! This is my new home. I need to move from my current place to make some changes. I will share my reasons why I'm moving in a minute, but let's first acknowledge that I'm a huge YouTube star, okay? The biggest. Seriously, the biggest. So I need to live in a place to match my level of stardom. Okay. All joking aside, changes to my accommodations are desperately needed. As most of you know, I made a couple trips to Kenya last year and I fell in love with it. This love affair had me thinking that I could live with almost anything. Modern conveniences? Who needs them? I have to be honest, the novelty has finally worn off and the honeymoon phase is over. So why am I moving? Wait. This is a story time and we all know what that means. Number 1, I have had it with chickens and goats on the property. Nothing wrong with chickens and goats. As a matter of fact, I love grilled chicken and I love lamb chops. But I don't need to have live chickens or goats as neighbors. I rarely see the goats, but the chickens are a constant source of stress, given that I can't let cues roam freely on the property. Each time I go out, I have to survey the property to make sure that the chickens are locked up in their cages at the back of the property. But sometimes they just appear, and Cues is the first to let me know when I see his ears perk up. Also, I can't afford any more replacement chickens. Truth be told, when I think of lounging in the pool, I never pictured having to share the space with chickens and the occasional goat. I am moving on and I'm willing to pay more for it. All right, this back area has some goats. I don't know where the goats are right now, but they should be here. They don't technically come out to the property, only the chickens do. Let's not forget, one of those chickens is technically mine. It's the white one with black spots. But I'll let it live its life out here. Number 2, remember this? For my American subscribers watching, some hosts may require that you pay for your own electricity for long-term stays. When you do, you may have to use a device like this called the Prepaid token meter to load units of power onto your account. Here is the nutty process. First, I have to launch the M-Pesa app where I normally pay anywhere from 500 to 1,000 shillings worth of power. I really wanted to pay for my 4 months of power in advance, but they told me not to pay more than 1,000. Once the payment is processed, I receive a confirmation text message with lots of stuff that I mostly ignore, except for a 20-digit number called a token. I repeat, a 20-digit number, which I now need to type into this portable meter. There is no reason for it to be 20 digits. I mean, seriously? I finally figured out how to use a token meter, but I've never been able to successfully avoid a blackout. My electricity always shuts off, which is my cue that it's time to purchase more power. This unfortunately happens way too often and always at the worst time. I know that it should be easy to manage, but I just don't want to get used to this. But I am moving on and happy to pay more to avoid this hassle. Feeding token meters has to go. This is reminiscent of the 5 things no one prepared me for living in Kenya. Goodbye. Number 3, I want my own pool. No. I need my own pool. Guys, I overheat, no joke. This Kenya heat don't play, so I often need a midday dip in the pool where I can relax and watch a show poolside. But sometimes there are kids around who rightfully need to play and have fun in the pool, but that's just not the vibe I'm going for. If I wanted that, I'd stay at a family resort. Also, I have a very particular spot by the pool which gets shade at certain points of the day, but sometimes it's taken by other guests. I mean, guys, don't they know that's my spot? Apparently, my ability to levitate and discard people from my spot with my mind is not working. Number 4, I can't always take a quick dip in the pool. Sometimes I have back-to-back meetings, so I need the universally accepted form of staying cool. I need a new place with air conditioning. I am tired of showing up to meetings looking like I just stepped out of a microwave. My colleagues are polite and they never comment on my appearance, but I am sure that they think I look like a mess with sweat pouring down my cheeks. I'm reminded of this guy. Again, I am happy to pay more to fix this issue. So I am moving. Next thing I'm saying goodbye to is this fan. This is in rough condition. It looks like they brought it out of the ocean. Goodbye. Goodbye. Number 5, another change that I'm making, the motorbike from hell. I need my own form of transport. Tuk-tuks are great, but honestly, they're rattling my brain. Have you guys been on side roads in tuk-tuks? I often ask to get off on the paved main road and walk the rest of the way to avoid the jarring experience. However, I figured that sticking with the theme of coastal life, I'd rent a motorcycle. What better way to stay cool than zipping around on a motorbike? Seems pretty easy, right? So I asked around because I wasn't about to pay Mzungu prices. And I found one for 400 shillings a day from a local. I'm not expecting anything fancy at that rate. All I need is a reliable motorbike to get me from point A to point B. The owner of the motorbike met me at my usual breakfast spot, Coco's, to show me the bike. I'd never ridden a motorcycle before, but I figured, how hard can this be? I know that some of you are going to remind me of that time last year when I fell off a bicycle. Riding the bike from lying in the sun down to Billionaire Resort. The things I do for YouTube. Look at that. Look at this. And look at this. But we made it. But I swear, that was different. I was filming on an old bicycle while carrying a heavy bag. So I looked over this motorbike, but to be honest, I had no idea what I was looking for. I focused mostly on the paint. That makes sense, right? I said I'd take it. The owner then said that he needed to take it to get it serviced before he can deliver it to me. That sounded very professional, and I was pleased. He returned with the bike later that evening. I confessed to him that I'd never ridden a motorbike before, so he gave me a few pointers on how to use the clutch to change the gears. For reference, I learned how to drive a manual transmission car, a stick shift, in a day. So this would be a cakewalk. I got on the bike, but then I couldn't get it started. The owner then got on the bike, and he too couldn't get it started. And he had just arrived on it. I'm thinking to myself, oh boy, this motorbike appears to be a lemon. So I told him, go fix it and then we can talk. So before rolling the bike away, the owner asked me for some money because he had paid for the bike to be serviced and put some fuel in the tank. I'm thinking to myself, the gas gauge says empty, but okay. I quickly declined to pay anything and off he went, pushing the bike. I want to be very accurate here because it's very possible that the owner is watching this video. Remember, I'm a YouTube star. Day 2, he returned the next day with the bike and said that the issue was that it had run out of fuel. I didn't believe him, but it didn't matter to me much because it was now working. I made a few trips up and down the empty street and figured I'd get the hang of it soon enough. My original plan was that I would rent the motorcycle for 4 months while making monthly installments. However, day 1 kind of rattled me a bit, so I opted to prepay for just 2 weeks while the owner was stating his case that I should prepay for 2 months. My gut was just to pay him for 1 week and see how the bike held up. But I have a soft spot for the locals trying to make a living, so we settled on 2 weeks. Day 3, I made my first solo trip to Carrefour. It was pretty cool. Later that afternoon, I opted to meet a friend for a late lunch. As I neared the restaurant, the brake pedal broke and fell off the motorcycle. But luckily, I was able to use the weak handbrake, which held up, and I was able to stop while narrowly avoiding hitting the car in front of me. I got off the bike, pushed it into the restaurant parking lot, and messaged the owner. Inspecting the broken brake pedal, I could tell that it was previously welded together. This meant that this was at least the second time this pedal has broken off. The owner said he would take it and have it back to me in 30 minutes. I said sure and laughed with my friend that I'd likely not hear from the owner for another 4 hours. Day 4. The owner showed up the next day with a newly welded brake pedal in place and said that there would be no more issues. He confessed that it had broken off a year earlier, but wouldn't say that it had happened any other times. I asked what it would cost to just get a new piece, and he said 1,500 shillings. My hope was that he'd say he just replaced the welded part. That wasn't about to happen. Later that evening, I wasn't able to get the bike started, so I got frustrated and hopped into a tuk-tuk. I messaged the owner in rage. Good thing he didn't pick up. Day 5. The owner shows up and says that it was just a user error. The bike had been rained on all day, so the owner said that the bike was cold and that I should use the kickstart to get the bike going. We hadn't gone over that in our 5-minute training session on day 1, so it hadn't occurred to me. So this time it was my lack of knowledge and I felt silly, but not silly enough to give him more money for transport when he asked for it. So now I'm finally ready to enjoy my motorcycle. It's time for another Carrefour trip. I hopped on the bike and motored away. Not really. It was more like I slowly got on the bike, started and stalled about 4 times before I got going. I'm about half a mile into my trip only to realize I forgot my wallet at home. So I turned around and headed back home. As I turned off the main road onto the bumpy side street, the chain fell off. I stared at the ground in disbelief. I contemplated just leaving the bike where it was and just walking home. I regained my composure and opted to push the bike a block and a half home, uphill. You should know, it's a very heavy bike. Can it get any worse? It started to rain. So now I'm pushing the heavy bike through mud in flip-flops and sliding left and right. I didn't sign up for this.
Pouring rain, the chain came off the bike, and I'm rolling it uphill back home. This is a piece of crap.
My vision was to have a working bike that I didn't have to think about. So I am turning to you all. Should I just cut my losses and have him collect the bike? Or should I light it on fire? I am open to all suggestions. If you've made it this far, I'm thinking of spending the month of September in Nairobi before heading back to the US. I'm in need of a 2-bedroom swanky place. I'm gonna review it on my channel, so it needs to be really nice. Any recommendations? If you enjoyed this channel, be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Take care and be good to each other.